accessible now. So, and thankfully sponsored by Corsair. So I've emailed them being like, guys, I'm gonna promote the shit out of this product. Please send me one. But anyway, let's talk about ZvP, man. Yeah, once you get higher frame rate, you'll really enjoy it for sure. Especially in those scrappy, big Baneling versus Marine battles. Those are the ones where things lag like crazy.
Yeah.
So we're going for the third. So you kind of mentioned a few things about Protoss there. We've talked about your Protoss plan before, but what is the goal? I remember we were doing some mid game and die trying. You being very Ravager Baneling focused, Hydra Bane focused.
Yes. But just because I was emulating the pros, basically. But now it's complicated. It's complicated, and this is why I really need help. It will be really complicated for you also, because I've been experimenting with some things, but nothing really works. So the goal right now is to use the Drg Defense. I don't know if you're familiar with that.
Sorry, we're from his series against Drogo?
I don't know from where it is. It's what the EU pros call the Drg Defense. It's basically a defense where you're safe against basically everything. So the spirit is that you get zergling speed, then you stay with one drone on gas, and then you produce queens. You get a 4th minute roach warren, blind spores, and you defend whatever comes at your third with the queens, with the spines, and the later lair. So that's the spirit. Instead of taking gases earlier and dropping an earlier roach warren, and it has helped me quite a bit because since I really suck against Protoss, my win rate is like 41%. I'm being kind of paranoid against them. So even if they don't attack, those are the games where my economy is the worst, because I'm like, oh my god, what the fuck is he doing? Where are his units? When is he going to be at my third with 20 DTs? And so this defense kind of gave me the same mindset as against Terran, because against Terran it's super nice because I feel like I'm so safe. I have a few links. I build like 20 links to defend against Hellions. I have my 4 queens at the front. And then I'm kind of, okay, let's drone up, let's scout. But against Protoss, I'm in paranoia. So maybe you'll have some tips. But yeah, so that's the defense. And I don't get overload speed anymore because I realized that, as I told you, I'm paranoid. So I'm going to build blind spores anyway, because I got fucked so many times thinking that the guy didn't have a Dark Shrine whilst he had one, thinking he didn't have Oracles while he had 2 proxy Stargates, that now I don't get overload speed anymore. Yeah. So
yeah, I'm a big fan of skipping overlord speed. You know that about me. I think
Terran, I still keep it. Against Terran, I still do it.
That's fine. So, I mean, well, so the problem with your opening this game is you were trying to cover multiple avenues at once. So let's just go straight back to the opening. So that DRG defense, it sounds like a one-size-fits-all build. Like you're trying to be safe against Stargate, but also against ground? Or is that specifically if you scout Robo Twilight, that DRG defense?
No, it's supposed to be safe against everything. Like, even if you cannot, if you're, like, the name of the game in the beginning is managing to get a Zergling inside of the opponent's base. Like, when the first adept moves out, you're supposed to get a Ling inside. But I don't manage to do it, so I get my Overlord inside this game.
But you get that in after, you know, you're not really realizing what's happening till after you've committed, right? Because,
yes, of course.
You're scouting it too late. So, I mean, look, okay, so here's my thoughts. One-size-fits-all defenses are a bad option as standard. There's something where if we get denied scouting, it's okay to have that as your backup plan. So, not a bad backup plan. But not my favorite. So I'd much rather we just get better at scouting. So better at scouting, and what I've found has a ridiculously high scouting percentage. There's two ways. There's an easy way and there's a hard way. I'm going to give you the hard way. You like the hard way. You're a guy who likes to copy the pros. You like to do the hardcore thing. It's still not very hard. It's still fucking easy. So, very simple. Your first overlord. So what you're going to give up with this is the overlord sitting above the natural. Okay? So you're not going to get to see everything there. If you want, you can send your second overlord. See this guy on the left? You can send him to replace it on that little bit of high ground. Okay. But obviously that means there's two overlords on his side of the map. But essentially, we're just giving up that overlord on the front. Okay? So, in fact... No. Sorry, I actually remember the safer way of doing this is that overlord here on the left. You'll send that like here. Somewhere where they won't scout for it with a Phoenix, but you can bring it in a little bit later at about 4 minutes 30 or so to check the gases on the natural. So so you can see if it's like charged lot all in. We don't see those anymore. Remember they nerfed Prism, they nerfed Charge, but in case that shit comes back, that's technically part of the scouting.
Well, I still get fucked by it, no problem.
Yeah, people still doing it.
yeah.
The spirit of Marjorie lives on the ladder. So first overlord touches natural wall off, then skirts the edge of the main. So what I mean by that is your first overlord will touch where it is here, check there's natural, and then it just runs along this ridge. And that means if the Stalker attacks it from either the low ground at its third base or the high ground, you can just run the other way. You can always escape with the overlord, right?
Yeah.
Also, if they're chasing that overlord, your zerglings get in, right? So you still do...
I like it.
2 lings run in. If the lings are blocked, send the overlord through. And sometimes
usually I just get 1 link in. I send 2 links. The first link goes to the third, and the other link goes inside.
That's fine. If you do that, that's fine. You can keep doing that exact same thing. I mean, I prefer 2 in case like an adept pops out as I'm running past. If you've got 2 lings, you can kill 1 and you can still get past. It's your call. You base that on what happens to you on the ladder. If that happens a lot, start sending both in, right? You can always put a ling on the third later. But the idea there is you'd be like, I'm blocked. So you just click that overlord in, and it's already on the edge of the main base up here on this cliff. So it doesn't take long. It'll get through the back of that base. If they react quickly, they can get the Stalker up there and kill it. Sometimes, though, you'll get out the back of the base to the safety, right? A lot of bases have this little safe zone in the back corner. Or you spot the tech and you pull out immediately. Or if they pull out of the wall to hunt it, then your zerglings can walk in the natural and kill a probe. You know, there's basically ways to be annoying. But we are happy to sacrifice an overlord because it's well worth it to know which path we want to go down so we can be more efficient. But this way, you're always going to know very early what's going on. And that's awesome. So by about 3:20, 3:30 at the latest, you'll have like full confirmation of what's going on, right? Because what time is it normally when your lings get over there? Like 2:40, something like that? I don't actually know.
I don't know. I produce 4 lings as soon as my pool pops.
Are yours a little later though? Because you go the queen first, right? Because you're going for the quick third hatch. Let's just double check. Let's just take a little look see.
Sure.
Only by a second. No. You do go. Yeah, you're going the 4 lings. That's fine. Cool. Bit slow to pull off gas. Not a big deal. No, it was only. thought it was going to be longer, but that's fine. It's a big map, so yeah, you get there about 2:50, 3 minutes. But yeah, if you you'd run over, you'd send the overlord in. Yeah, about 3:30. You'd have 100% confirmation of what's going on. Awesome.
Okay.
I really like this. Yeah. It was Eon Blue who was struggling with scouting, was talking to me about it, and I was like, you know what, man, I fucking can't figure out what they're doing enough either. And we sat down a few months ago and figured out this was a good way to like just make sure we see exactly what happens. So I'd say getting better at scouting is nice. And what's your timing on the Roach Warren and gases? Do you go Roach Warren and up to 3 gases? 4 minutes.
I just get a Roach Warren at 4 minutes, and then I don't really have a standard plan. This is why I told you it's going to be difficult.
Yeah.
Because then I just improvise.
So that's the thing, is like this Roach Warren is so unnecessary, right? So
to me it's super necessary because I get super fucked by adepts.
Yeah, this is a Stargate opening though, so the adepts are like a minute and a half away at the fastest. So even if it's the fastest possible adept timing behind a Stargate, there's no way. So you gotta remember, there's 2 different branches of your play. So if you look at your notes in your document, notice we've got verse ground, robo/twilight. That's one branch. And the
Yes.
other is verse air. Now, verse that ground, Robo Twilight Branch, if you're playing really tight openings, you probably want it faster than 4 minutes, to be honest. 3 minutes 50, I would say. It's up to us. 3 minutes 50, depends. Let's just say 4 minutes now to make it simple. And then if people are hitting us really fast, plus second and third gases. And then you can get spores at like, let's say 4 minute 30 spore crawlers to be safe against DTs. Now, obviously, there's certain things where if you hit people who are doing really, really greedy DT builds, you may need spores earlier. For instance, fucking parting against Raynor on Zen in TSL in the final game did a single stalker, no other gateway units into 3/4 gateway ADT, warping in at like 4 minutes 14 outside Reynor's third. And it was like, okay, like that's cute and all, but the thing is, like, if you actually just pay attention with your scouting and you see nothing building out of the gateway after the first unit, and that unit's just sitting in the wall, you always should build 20 Zerglings and just A-move them at their wall. And even if you don't kill them, they have no damage. Like, it's this funny thing, people are like, oh, well, that's kind of a bad trade. It's like, no. Your 20 Zerglings will kill 3 gateways, a Cybercore, 2 pylons, because he's not actually lowering your damage. The units lost at the end of that Ling Flood, and it's not really a Ling Flood, it's a wave of Lings, will be way better for you as the guy YOLOing a wall, because he has no units doing damage, because it's a stupid fucking opening that you can't get away with unless the Zerg's not paying attention to that gateway. So that's the power of parting, taking gambles, right? He's got great gambles in there. But that's something to keep in mind, because I've had people, I've been like, cool, these are the safe timings. They're like, wow, one guy hit me at 420 with DTs. And I'm like, yeah, okay, that's a very rare case. Like, we can't play safe every game against the fastest possible DT of all time, right? If we try to play like, you know, our standard spore timing is like protecting us against a proxied Stargate behind our natural and the fastest ever chrono boosted Oracle, well, no, because the 95 out of 100 times where they don't proxy the Oracle, our spores are really early and we're hurting our economy for no reason, right? We've got to learn to scout those specific scenarios and adjust to them when reacting. So anyway, verse ground, what you can do is you can turn those timings upside down to a certain extent, right? We can go like 4 minute spores and 4 minute, 45, 4 minute 30, Roach Warren plus second and third gases. Now, obviously you can adjust those timings. A lot of people like to get like a spore crawler down at 340 in the main to defend against the first Oracle. But you can see the idea there. It's like, we got to get the Roach Warren nice and early in the gases to get the Roaches against the Glaive Adepts, right? Or the Archon drop. But we can delay the spores. Against air, though, you've got to drone a lot harder. You've got to delay that Roach Warren and those extra gases because you're building extra queens and that sort of thing. So often I would also say just 3 queens, adding 4th and maybe 5th queen a bit later, around the time the pressure hits.
You mean 3 queens at the front or 3 queens global? I
mean total, absolute total. So adding a 4th and 5th queen total. So that's with the ground Robo
So
Twilight.
no creep?
You can have 1 or 2 tumors. You'd probably have 1 tumor going from your natural, and then maybe 1 tumor out front your third. But not a lot. But the idea there is queens don't defend adepts or archons very well, right? They're really low damage. So it's more important to get roaches. Against air, though, I assume you like to go 5 queens straight away?
Yes.
Cool. So
even more. I built 4 queens at the front.
Yeah, you've been doing this weird one-size-fits-all build. I think that's... If they build 3 oracles, that's okay. If they only build 1 or 2, I think there's just no need. Right? Yeah. Especially if they only go 1 oracle and you go 7 queens, and then they follow up with like a fast all-in afterwards. It's like, man, they're tanky. Yeah. The queens, they just don't do that much damage, you know? So it's like... There's always a balancing act where having queens is good for buying time, but we've also got to actually have the Ravagers and the Roaches and the things that actually do damage behind it, right? So sometimes it pays off, but we've got to be careful doing it as a standard thing.
Yeah, but behind all of this is a deeper question. It's the question of gas. Because why do I build so many queens? It's also that otherwise my money skyrockets. And I don't have either larva or tech to do something with it. So like these 4 additional queens that I built, they're worth like 600 minerals, and I don't want to build 2 hatcheries, and I don't want to build 6 spines. And yeah, basically what I'm asking, in a clumsy way, is when should I put more guys on gas? Because I'm trying to emulate kind of the thing where you keep 1 gas until your 3 first bases are saturated.
Yeah.
And maybe against Protoss this is not the way to go. I don't know.
Yeah, no, because you've been trying to do a one-size-fits-all build. This like DRG response. When you first said DRG, by the way, I kind of laughed to myself because it's like I just watched DRG versus Petite Drogo, and it was just like, let's fucking hope Drogo doesn't commit to an attack. I'm gonna go for a 4-minute 30 Spire every game with no Roachhorn and just fucking roll the dice. Like Drogo.
Yeah, but it was
DRG
super cute when he had the 10 overlords surrounding the Spire. You have to give him that.
It's cool. I actually went mutas in against. I was trying to go mutas against Rob in EBT the other day, and I got away with the greediest opening of all time because I was inspired by DRG. I was like, you know, if I know someone's going to be like doing triple Oracle, the way you know Drogo is going to do double or triple Oracle, I was like, you could probably get away with this quite a lot, right? And I did it, and I got in a good spot. I just had no fucking idea how to play Spire versus 2 Stargate Phoenix. So I was like, I didn't know what to do. And the game got really weird, and I killed all his probes, and then he killed me with carriers because they had nothing that shoots up. It was weird. But the point is, like, DRG is like one of the least solid and standard players. So anyways, the point is a one-size-fits-all build just isn't tailored. Like, it's just like, well, he's going to deny our scouting. And I'm like, I don't know. I think we can scout better than that. By the way, your Spore Crawl is placed really shitty in the main. You can tell that, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, good.
Oh, yeah.
That should be kind of quite a few spaces down to the right. Yeah, at least 2 or 3 hex. At least probably just diagonally down to the right, fully placed.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like 1 patch. Yeah.
So, anyways, let's talk about your build guidelines. So, look at what we wrote there in the document. So you see the notes, right? I've already given you a timing for your 2nd and 3rd gases. They always go down with your Roachhorn. That is what keeps you safe in this matchup. Roaches, Ravagers are going to be the core of your defense, whether it be Glaver Depths or Archons following up the pressure, or the Oracle pressure, that is, or if it's straight into really fast Glaver Depths, okay? Now, when do we get the next 3 gases? At saturation. Take the next 3 gases, right? And obviously go up to a 4th base as well as soon as you can. So it's that's kind of similar. It's like it's the rule of 3 gas, ZvP or something like that, you know. But notice the 2nd and 3rd gas timing, it changes depending on when the Roachhorn goes down. The Roachhorn changes depending on if we're playing Air or Robo Twilight. You are looking at the document where I'm highlighting, yeah?
No.
No,
I told you it's good. No, I can't do it.
Oh, you can't look at it on your.
Also watching I'm also watching the stream at the same time.
Wait, so the stream is on your phone?
Yeah.
Right. I mean, you don't really need to look at the stream. I really do think the document is infinitely more useful right now. Is it possible to tab between?
I will do my best.
Because the document is actually so much more important. I honestly think the theory is infinitely more important than what's on our screen right now, and then we can swap between the two.
You're a very handsome man.
Thank you very much. You can rewatch the VOD and stare at my face during that.
Okay. This is what I will do, definitely.
Cool. Yeah, because it's really important to understand the structure here, because I'm actually rewriting your build order for you and giving you a lot more direction, and that's really just going to be powerful. So, the follow-up.
Okay.
So, tell me when you got it open.
It's opening itself. It's loading. Okay. Drg Defense, not a bad backup plan.
Yeah, that's if some motherfucker denies our scouting like crazy or we make a mistake. But down here, Verse Ground, Robo Twilight. So these are the 2 different branches. So the idea is the better at scouting nodes, so that's how we identify what branch it is.
Yeah, sure.
And these are the 2 builds. So it's Roachhorn plus 2nd, 3rd gas timing, Spore Crawler timing. And then we turn those upside down if it's an air build, if we see a Stargate, right? Okay. Now the follow-up is always the same. Saturation, take the next 3 gases, and then do your normal thing. I don't need to tell you how to play Hydrobane. You know how to do that.
Actually, now you do, because I thought I knew how to play Hydrobane, sorry, but now people have gotten so so much better at defending it. I don't know if you have the same feeling, but like when I play against guys who are like 5'2", 5'3", they are really good against that.
There's like a new level, right? Because for a while you were playing at a bit of a lower level, and it's like these guys are just a bit more
Yeah, but
prepared for everything.
I still can fuck them up with other stuff. Like I can still kill them with roach timing, stupid stuff. But
Okay, yeah,
Hydra
people are getting away with being a bit greedy, probably, right? So they're like rushing up to Storm and they're surviving long enough.
yeah, and Storm destroys me when I'm on Hydrabane.
Yeah, so
So
it's all about the rumba. So here for instance, you ran your army away. Why aren't we killing that fourth base? Like this was a great little attack. One thing that's really missing, you don't have an overseer with your army. So let's just talk engagements in this game.
okay, so I don't know where his army is. Okay.
So overseer or 2 with your army. There could be an observer on you right now, which is really fucking bad. But it's also changelings. Changeling spam. If you sneak changelings in, like for me, I'm always dropping changelings, and on this map, I would be sending 1 here and 1 like over here, always. Because just seeing where his army is moving is going to be huge, right? But in general, you want to be doing multi-prong. So before, you did a Baneling run by into the 3rd. Unfortunately, you weren't looking, and you walked right past 4 High Templar, which had just warped in. But you got some probes. It was still good. We can't always be looking at the right time. It happens. As long as we do enough of these sick run bys, we're going to kill a lot of shit. So here, you didn't know where his army was. Well, you did, because you sent Zerglings into his main and natural. His whole army's got to pull over there. So we should have been foraging. We should have been moving to that left-hand side. What I see from you is a Spire. Just not necessary, right? We don't really need a Spire. Just stay focused on the Hydrabane. Definitely something that gives us a bit more confidence.
Okay, so why the Spire? It's because against the top guys, I just couldn't defend the War Prism harass.
Yeah.
So
that's a good point. All right.
You're going to get pissed off, but what Cyril did once, he just built like 2 mutas, and with these 2 mutas, he denied the War Prism harass.
I like it. A laser's obsessed with that. The number of times a laser's built 3 mutalisks to kill a thing. I do it as well. Look, you just don't need to. It's a lazy way of doing it. If you're building that Spire quickly, and then because you're thinking about a muta swap, and like they actually scout it, and they go, ooh, shit, there might be mutas. Like, it's actually creating threat. You're maybe making them build a few Phoenix. You're fucking with them. So the Spire is really doing something as well. Now, in this case, let's just think about our normal defense against Prism, because it's very important. So this is a very good point. Your map vision sucks. So this guy did build a Phoenix, but that Phoenix only survives for the early stages, and then it just goes and fucks off, right? Like, this Phoenix is up in this random spot of the map. So one of the things you always want to do the moment you get established on like 4 bases, so a few minutes earlier than this, is just grab a few Overlords, and we should have had Overlords sent out. Now, as we did that, the Overlord in the top left would have killed one of our Overlords that was going up to the top middle. So the Phoenix would have killed the Overlord, and we would have gone, okay, but at some point we'd send some Hydras up there, which is really fucking important. Because this Phoenix is also going to spot every time we do a Ling Bane run by up there.
Yeah, that would have changed everything.
So we would have sent just a few Hydras with a Ling Bane run by, killed the Phoenix, we would have got vision up on those edges, we would have seen any Warp Prism. So because you killed the Warp Prism, it's okay for your army to be in a big clump. But if you don't have that full map vision and that full knowledge that you've killed the Prism and whatever, you do want to leave a defensive squad. So OV vision, even versus a Phoenix or a few, spread 5 to 6 OVs on the edges in the mid game. Okay, so that's step 1.
So like nobody patrols a Phoenix all around the map. It doesn't exist.
No one does it, even at pro level. No, because they're too busy, and the Phoenix usually goes home to like defend Overlord Baneling drop or something like that. Like it doesn't even defend a Baneling drop. All it does is damage a Baneling drop because it's a Phoenix and it does no damage.
Make sure the Overlord doesn't go home.
Yeah, that's it. It's like, well, you won't leave. So basically, they just won't keep queuing it. So even when a Terran player has a Viking, usually they won't. The Viking will just end up back with the army or running into some queens and dying. 1 in 10 games, you'll get a gem of a Terran player who keeps the Viking alive, and like 12 minutes in the game, he's still queuing it to run around the edges, pick stuff off. And you're like,
never happens to me, even against the best Terrans.
It's very, very rare. You know, it'll happen 1 game in 1,000. You'll go, oh, fuck this guy. This is cool. And then your Hydras or your Mutas will run over and kill it, and you'll keep respreading your Overlords, right? So OV Vision's going to be a good starting point. But in the absence of information, let's have a squad. Just have a defense squad by default, okay? Now, the great thing is, the more creep you have, the more overlords on the edges, and especially if you snipe a prism, we can bring this defense squad to the offense. Because I know you're going to say it, and this is every Zerg's thought, my own. I want everything on the front. I got to stop this Protoss getting a fourth and getting too much Storm and Immortals and Archons. I can't leave units at home. Well, let's not go overboard on the units at home. Let's say 3 Hydras, 5 Banes, 20 Lings. That's the safest. That's a big army. What is that? 10 supply of Lings, 6 supply of Hydras. It's almost 20 supply of units. It's like 7. It's like about 18 supply of units. That's a lot. So that's kind of the bigger end of it. Some people like to go a little bit lighter. But what you want to do is you want to try and intercept the prism and snipe it. So something let's say 4 Hydras, actually, and let's just say 5 Banes and 10 Lings. There we go. Because 4 Hydras, I find, is the magic count where I can kill a prism before my opponent reacts 99% of the time. So if you've got that good vision, often you'll see it running down, say, the right-hand side of the map, and those 4 Hydras that are already on a squad, they run and they try to get on that very edge and intercept it and snipe it as it's flying past before it even does anything. And anytime you can do that, it's just like, haha, fuck yeah. And sometimes I'll leave those Hydras on the defense, but often I'll just join them into my army, get aggressive, get in my opponent's face. And then if the game ever resets at some point, like I pull back from the aggression to add my Great Aspire, drone more, bake more Banelings, I'll go, well, it was a while since I sniped the prism. There could be another prism. Let's split some units off again. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally.
Can rejoin the army after sniping, but always replenish your drop defense squad after
this is
minutes.
what I do usually, but this map is kind of fucked up. Thankfully, it's leaving the map pool because the guy can drop on your main, and then there's a defense squad. Okay, I'll drop on your third, and then it's kind of complicated.
That's why you don't want to let him get in that position in the first place. So, yeah, there's a lot of problems like that where he's got a triangle, right? Where he can drop the main, drop the third, and then run to the right and drop and warp in over there as well. And you can't really cover all those edges without putting a lot of units there. So what you can do is you can move spores down a little bit and leave like a queen on the edge and stuff. I'm okay with you dropping a spire if they're in that position to deal with it. If they're really good with their prism, I'm okay with you dropping it. It's not the end of the world, okay? As long as it's for that. I thought you were going to try to swap to mutas in a big way, which I would not like. But often they shouldn't be able to get into that spot, right? Unless they're there from much earlier in the game, you're going to see that prism coming across the map and you can intercept it on the right-hand side somewhere. And you're going to kill that prism ahead of time. So don't get me wrong. If you don't ever get on top of the prism and like catch them moving across the map, it can be really tough for you. Likewise, if they do what I do, where I'm a bit of what we call a dickhead as a Protoss player, I will just set it up in the corner of the map. Like, I don't even show the prism. I'm like, it's just going to sit there. It's just a pylon. And I'll only bring it into the main after it's, like, warped in zealots to run in from the front. Because I, as a Zerg player, know that if I can shut down the prism, thumbs up, fuck yeah. And if zealots come in from a random angle when my army's all set up on the other side of the map, it's a fucking nightmare to deal with as a Zerg player. So this is, like, the power of sneaking all these zealot attacks in and that sort of stuff. So, anyways, so you've sniped the fourth. You've got a giant army. You do have a lot of Hydras, 21 Hydras. So you're getting to the point where you really desperately need to split your army into 2 squads, right? So you really only ever want to have at most 15 Hydras in one control group. Even then, they get stuck behind each other like fucking crazy. Now, the other thing is, obviously, if you're playing... You were at like 77, 78 drones all game. Arguably, if you're playing this game, it might be worth going for a second Evo chamber in the later stages. Second Evo for +1 range, ? Maybe. Up to you, because you are playing higher economy. If you're playing just 70 drones, 66 drones, I'd be like, no fucking way. There's no way. Because you're going closer to 80 drones, I'm like, maybe you do feel like adding a second Evo at some point. Totally up to you. Just something to throw out there. I don't think it's very high priority. I don't think it's important right now. Just something for you to think about.
But is my... Like, the drone count, I picked it up from the finisher, the serial dicker. Yeah, I have lots of great nicknames for that guy. But what he said from the gases on the third, So I checked the gases on the third, and I saw that they were there at 6 minutes. So I went up to 80 drones. This is why I got that drone count.
Okay,
So that
cool. Yeah, I mean
okay.
it's a good drone count. I like it. I do like it. It's not bad. No, it's totally fine. But like I said, if you're doing that, yeah, it might be worth going to the second Evo. It's totally up to you. Doesn't matter for now. Let's focus on more important things. I think you queued up your +1 range pretty quick. So there we had what we call a god awful engagement.
Yeah,
So you mentioned creep spread as a question. Since your creep has been pretty shit this game, you said, "Oh, you play creep or die, but it doesn't help you." Well, of course it doesn't help you. You're distracted by other things in the game which you're prioritizing over creep spread. Can you spread creep a little bit better? Sure. How are you going to work it into your play? You're going to need to do a little bit of thinking about that because that does give you a lot more longevity. If your creep was all out on this high ground, you'd have a bit more flexibility with your Hydra Bane. You'd be able to rotate around, find angles. Whenever he does push out, you'd be able to surround it a bit easier. So, I mean, the thing is, there's not that much going on. In ZvT, I'm pretty sure your creep spread's pretty good because you make it important, right? You go, oh, this is part of my play. I really need the creep.
against bio, yes, this is life changing. I die if I don't have a good creep spread. Yeah.
Yeah, so for you, it's just, I think this is something I can't even tell you how to improve. Like, there's no secret here. It's literally, you just need to come up with some way of reminding yourself of doing it in the game. So, like, if you
But it remains less important to me. Like, I'm not sure I lost that game, for example, on creep spread.
No, not at all. Look, it's not, but you want to improve it, and trust me, with Hydra Bane and this many drones, it gives you a big step up. Is it going to be as high priority as ZvT? Fuck no. Not against bio, definitely not. But if we just fast forward and look at your creep, so we saw, for instance, there, you just did your classic things. This has always been your problem with creep, remember, from last sessions? You like to spread new tumors rather than spread the tumors that are already there, which is a really bad habit.
Yeah.
That's a really bad habit,
I worked on that a lot, but against Protoss, it's still shit.
Yeah, try to take whatever you're doing against Terran and just a little bit of that. Like, because honestly, what are we doing right now? I think you've got the APM. I've seen you play. You're fast. So right now we're microing a changeling around. We're sending some zerglings over for a baneling run by. We've already saturated one gas there. We really want that 8th gas, I guess. Yeah, with this drone count, that's fine. 8 gases is good. We've got a rich geyser, so we might be able to get away without it. Start now, upgrade on time. We spread a single creep tumor on its own. Yeah. It's a bad creep habit. We're looking back at the changeling. We're looking back at the changeling. We're looking back at our zerglings. We're clicking them in the mineral line. You're building more zerglings. We're selecting our army and moving across the map. We want to intercept the prism. We're injecting our hatcheries. We're checking. Yes, we've got both Hydra upgrades. We're going to catch that prism. Yeah, I would say just a mixture of bad creep habits in that, like, you spread an individual tumor on its own without spreading the rest, and you're putting down new tumors, and you're just not making it a priority. So I'm not sure exactly how you want to order it in your head, but it's for you just finding a way to, like, we could have spread creep while we're moving across the map, right? So maybe you're just a little bit nervous, I'm not sure, and you're a bit too kind of like, oh, I gotta get over there, which is, that's the right thing. This is the most important stuff to focus on. So it's not like the highest priority, but just try to be a little bit more systematic with it, I think is all I'd say, right? Because I agree it's not the highest priority, but at the same time, there's no reason why we aren't spreading creep better. What do you think?
Yeah, of course. What did you do, like to become better at spreading creep?
I think I just realized that I didn't need to force the issue with Hydra Bane as much. Actually, I guess this all ties in together. Let's talk about Hydra Bane a little bit more and how you don't actually need to fucking headbutt your way to death. So right now, you've just done some great damage, but your Hydras are exposed. So you're pulling back and making more Banelings, making sure you don't get caught out. That's great, right? This is all smart. You don't want to fight right now until you've got Maulings and Banes. At this point, whenever you do damage, you go, sweet. It's like, imagine there's a meter that fills up where if the Protoss hits too much of a good army or economy, we just lose, right? You've just set that back a lot by killing a ton of probes, stopping so much gas mining. You just did some really good shit, okay? That's awesome. Whenever we're in that middle zone, I would probably double check my economy. Transfer workers out of my main, spread creep, make sure all my macro is going good, right? If we look at this, I don't know if you ever transition these workers out of this main base. And it's been
yeah, I do at some point.
Yeah,
But,
the thing is, that's normally about, what, 9 minutes is usually, most maps, most normal builds, about 9 minutes is like,
Okay.
you need to have transitioned down to 8 workers. And do you look at the number above the hatchery when you transfer the workers?
Yes, but I'm not super anal about it. Like if it's
Yeah.
like I just take a bunch of workers, which I think is okay, and
I
I
think
transfer
I
them.
think a good way to think of it is to do it the exact same every game without even looking at the number above the hatchery. So
Okay.
if you click on these mineral patches, you're going to notice there's one mineral patch that's almost gone now. So basically, about 8:30 to 9 minutes every game, your 4 half mineral patches mine out in the main, which means you want 8 workers, right? It goes from 16 worker base to an 8 worker base. So you should
Yeah.
always just pull workers away to leave just 8 there. So assuming you had a full 16, which you often don't because you've been building buildings, you would just pull 8 down to your 4th base. And that's just like a standard thing you always do at 9 minutes. Every game, pull the workers out of your main down to your 4th. Or in this case, your 5th, since your 4th is saturated nicely. Actually, what happened to your gases on your 3rd? It's a bit weird. Yeah.
I have no idea. Maybe the oracles.
Okay, maybe that. So anyways, yeah, I think after we take good engages, spread creep, transfer drones, get your macros sorted, and then prepare another wave, right? Now, there's something else, as I think the golden rule I'm going to write up here. So what is the goal of your attacks? So basically, your entire goal is to lure their army into taking shitty fights, okay? So there's 2 things, right? So that's our goal. How do we achieve that as a Zerg player versus Protoss? The way we do that is we hit the economy in multiple areas, right?
Yeah.
And they have to split up and fight us. So it's funny, right? Because we want to kill the army more than anything. We want to kill the High Templar, the Archons, the Immortals before there's too many of them together. But funnily enough, if we go straight for the army, we do exactly what you do 1 minute from now in this game. So if you just go one directionally towards the army, we take the fight the Protoss player wants, which is his whole army completely together. I don't know why this is FPS lagging so hard or stuttering. Maybe it's my monitor settings on my new monitor. I'm not sure. Are you getting it kind of lagging pretty badly in the replay here?
Yeah.
Maybe it's just your computer's slowing it down, actually, since we're watching together,
Yeah.
right? Since you do have... So, okay. But this is that fight I was talking about, right? We're like, yeah, get his army. And whilst you kind of come from 2 sides, we take a terrible fight. It's really easy to take a terrible fight if we just attack into his army. But look at his natural. What's he got defending? Almost nothing. What's he got defending his top avenue into his 3rd base? Almost nothing as well, right? So there's always these other avenues. So we just fought in his strongest possible area. Was it the worst fight of all time? Not necessarily. You're far enough ahead economically that it might be okay, but it's just a bad structural way to go about it, right? That was a terribly inefficient fight. So the goal is to lure them into taking shitty fights so we can kill their army. And I really want to hit that home because it's always about hitting the army. We can keep killing probes all game long, but if they get 7 High Templar filled with energy, with 8 Archons and 8 Immortals, you're going to struggle to defend that. You're going to need to micro a 360-degree surround on creep like a motherfucker, Like, you're going to need to micro so hard to dodge storms, it's going to be insane. But just keep that in mind, because what we did is we did a perfect first engage where we hit the economy, but we hadn't actually cleared any of the army yet. And I feel like a lot of players do this, and they feel ahead and they get lazy with their next fight. And I really feel that's what happened here, where I think you just got a little bit over eager. And it's really nice that your army...
I wanted to kill the army because I heard you once saying that with Protoss, the golden rule is to actually kill the army. That's the main goal.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, so now he doesn't have the economy to reproduce a strong army. So now that I've hit his economy, and by hitting his economy, I don't mean necessarily killing 1 million of probes. I did kill some probes, but mainly by denying the 4th. That was a huge blow to his economy. So now I need to fight him.
Yeah. So what's wrong with this fight, though?
Like the arc, I arrive with an arc from the right, which is terrible.
Yeah, they got clumped up on that tiny little ramp, right? So you
Yeah,
kind
and
of,
all of this
yeah,
is related to the lack of vision I had to the exact spot of his army. Like I knew his army would be at the fourth because he
yeah.
couldn't afford to lose it, but I didn't know in which exact setup. So the overseer and changeling thing you told me about would have helped him tremendously because
Also
I could
sending
have translated
Zerglings
my
ahead,
units.
right? Like your Zerglings kind of do go ahead here, but you can also just be sending individual Zerglings to try to figure out where he is.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, I mean, the thing is, if you took the fight better, it would be good. It's just one of those things you should have been a bit more patient. I think you were like, his army's in the open, go, go, go. The thing
yeah,
is, as right as it is to try to clear his army right now, like if you went for the economy first and then kill his army when he comes to defend it, like you're probably going to find a better fight here, right? So I think an easier way to pick this fight is just to send your second half of your army. Like forcing a surround on them when they're on the defense is very hard. Like obviously he was just pushing your watchtower, so I can see why you went for it. But if he was just sitting at home and we just tried to sandwich his army like this, it's very easy, for instance, for him to just pull back up this ramp and like storm us to death, right? And yeah, maybe we can cancel the fourth, but it can be an awkward fight. But if your army on the right didn't go down this ramp, but it just went up this way and just hit the natural wall, and then this army hits the fourth as well, it's like he's either going to take crazy catastrophic damage or he's going to at some point end up kind of sandwiched between your two armies, right? And then you can take the fight. But I think you should be going for the economy even here when you want to fight the army to force him to be like, oh, fuck. And he's got to like run over there and his High Templar are trailing behind his army. And he's like running in with a few Archons and Immortals and Zealots first. You kill all those. Then the High Templar come in after he's already lost half of his army and all his Immortal barriers are gone. But anytime you try to force this, I got to fight him right now from two sides on his army, it can be a little harder. Now, obviously, if you just spread out a bit more, the army on the right pulled back, spread out a bit, waited, let this army, obviously, this army on the right, you should have clicked it up here onto his third base, right? And then it would have naturally spread out in this huge arc, and it would have been really nice, yeah? So yeah, if you just click to the top of the ramp, waited until they were spread out, then a move from both sides, I think that would have been okay. So I think good goals, just try to make sure you keep going for the economy and you're a bit more patient with these engagements. Often, if you just set up, that's another way you can do it, right? So if that army set up in a giant concave out here, you just start going forward with little bits of Hydras and Banes, you start baiting storms, you start like picking off Archons for free. While they're distracted, Banes roll into mineral lines. Often you'll find they attack into your concave. And Hydra Bane, if you get them attack into your concave, like you destroy them. Storm's nowhere near as good because it doesn't have long enough range and your units are already spread out and it can end up really awkward for them. So it's actually a really cool thing if you can get that going. So, okay, a bit more map vision, a little bit more creep spread, which we just lost completely. Like we should have had a Ling on his watchtower this whole time as well, right?
yeah.
Here we built way too many Hydras. 33 Hydras. Uh-oh. So that's not very good, is it?
When I see that many Archons, I'm scared.
Okay. I guess that kind of makes sense. The problem is he's got Psystorm as well. So yeah. Don't even adjust to his composition. I honestly think 15 Hydras does just as much as 30 here. The thing is, if you're going to go 30 Hydras, like that is the absolute max, but you've got to split them into two armies is the rule and try and attack different areas, right? That's how we make this happen. Like you started just attacking into his army head on repeatedly. So that's kind of what happened. Even here with that army where I'm like, feels like too many Hydras to me. Look at his base. Still got a naked mineral line. Still got nothing defending the natural. If you run 10 Banelings in, click on the Zealot, click into the mineral line. You know, his economy is still not there, right? And don't get me wrong, killing the army is important, but if you do enough damage to the economy, like it still is, it still essentially is killing army in the long run, right? So here we remaxed on Hydras. I don't think you needed to adjust to the Archons. I think 15 Hydras and just having more Ling Bane, because so think of it this way. Let's change your understanding, because you're like, oh, I need more Hydras, and you did end up splitting, but it was after you failed an engagement or two, so you've given him a crazy amount of time now. The Ling Bane is what allows the Hydras to be strong because they kill the High Templar and force them back, right? If you come in with enough Banelings, you can kill all the High Templar or like come in from enough sides and get the High Templar to run away from the fight. And that's when the Hydras can fight, right? But anytime you don't have enough Ling Bane to actually like push through and get the High Templar, the Hydras become really bad units against the Psystorm, right? So I feel like there's always got to be that balance of Hydra Baneling against almost any composition. And I think that's something to really think of there. Even versus heavy Archons, still have an insane Bane count. Need it to push back the High Templar. So you split your army up here, but unfortunately just a little bit careless with it. So check this out. This was already a very hard position at this point to close the game out because you've let him get back up to 64 probes. So what happens here? We don't have the watchtower, right? If you saw him coming back, you could have just clicked the Banelings in here and pulled everything else back on the right-hand side. And at the same time, what could you do? Half of these units
destroy the fourth or the fifth.
Yeah, well, you can click the Banes and the Hydras into the fourth, and then the Hydras can kill the fifth from the high ground at the same time. And you can split the Banelings here into that mineral line as well. They wouldn't get in. There's 3 cannons now, which we don't know about. But yeah. And then as he pulls back to deal with all that, then these Hydras can go back in if you want. I might not do that, though, because 15 Hydras with no Ling Bane left with them on the right. Obviously a bit fragile, right? That being said, you desperately need to do some shit right now. So maybe it would have been the right thing to do. Yeah, I mean, if you did an attack like this, obviously we needed a bit more time with his army being a bit slower to get back here. And we needed to get straight into the natural and then the main. And the priority would be killing probes and then probably killing Stargates and picking off carriers that are popping, right? I would probably just try to target the Stargates down if I know I'm in that main base with limited time left. Just try and slow down the carrier count from building. Yeah, so I think we're dead now. He's got how many carriers? I mean, you could still beat this army with like a sick Hydra Bane surround because there's not that much protection for the High Templar, right? So this army looks unbeatable, but if you just got rid of the High Templar, it's not really that strong, right? You just need to have a big enough concave of Hydras. Unfortunately, we don't have +2 attack yet. Obviously, we're not maxed. We're making a lot of Banes, but, you know, looks like you have some lava, but probably not quite enough and not that much creep. So you'd need to have like a nice big surround, and we really needed a Baneling flank here to get those High Templar. He's even setting up stasis traps though, so yeah. Yeah, the Baneling flank comes in, but a little bit late, and everything's already dead by then. No worries. Cool. All right, yeah, you got in a really good position this game, despite doing a generic opening. So your opening is going to be a lot more tailored and better. Your early Hydra Bane attack was great.
Why do the High Templars do so much damage to my army? Like, I'm despaired by that.
Well, you're just not ready for any of these fights. Like you're just attacking into them in the wrong way. That's all. Like that last fight, you just had a smaller army. Yeah.
Okay. I get it. It's just that the position was not winnable at this point. Okay.
Yeah. Like the thing is, it's one of those things about you let him achieve his goals as a Protoss player. The thing is, we were in such a good position around here, right? You get that prism, you do a lovely little Baneling run by. You do this beautiful big attack, which we did blind, by the way. So it worked out really well, but we are kind of a little lucky he didn't just like warp in a sentry and force field and have to pull back. We're a little slow to rotate to the left. We don't have those changelings. We're not leaving lings on the watchtowers. That's a real big one, right? So lings on the watchtowers is just going to be so huge for you, man. So if they put a zealot on the tower, I'll just send a little squad of like 10, 12 zerglings around. And if they're running zealots around the map, what if they start doing lots of zealot counterattacks on the ground? So this is something which is actually really important. Is lings on towers, if they send zealots, you send zerglings, right? If they send zealots, you send more lings. If they send packs of zealots around the map, like without even having a prism, you always have a big pack of Ling Bane to go intercept them, right? And it's okay to send too many Banelings. So if you see 10 Zealots going around the top of the map to counterattack you, you send like 15 Banes, 30 Zerglings. Obviously that's too many, but you can A-move it, clear the Zealots up, and then use it as a counterattack. The great thing about Ling Bane is it's so mobile, you can shut down their counterattack, immediately backstab them with it, right? So you can kind of use your drop defense key also as a run by key whenever you clean up a prism or you clean up their attack. And that's like this really nice thing that you can do to make sure you're staying mobile and punishing them. It's also the best way to counterattack. Not just rolling in 2 or 3 Banes, but running in with 20 Lings and 5 Banes. And sometimes you'll catch a mineral line like this third, no defense, 20 lings just start ravaging the probes, right? Before the banelings even get in there. You know, sometimes the zealot's not in the natural wall. Your zerglings just run into the main and natural and do some good shit. So that's actually a really cool thing, because I've seen players be so focused on trying to set up their Hydra Bane engagements, and then the Protoss just keeps running zealots around the edges of the map and pulling them home and pulling them home. And then the Protoss is at 180 supply of Storm Immortal Archon. He's like, lol, I bought time by A-moving cheap zealots around the edge of the map, dummy. So we as a Zerg need to be good at handling that just with Ling Bane.
Okay.
Cool. So I think if we had to prioritize, what are the highest points? Definitely, I think the new build guidelines, less queens, more focus on being nice and clean in the opening with that early scouting, the Overlord on the edge. The next really big high value thing here is your early engagements were pretty good. Keep going for the economy with the army split in two. So go for the economy initially. A mixture of that used with more vision to set up the engagements a bit more carefully, right? So if you don't quite know where the army is, if you go for the natural with one half, you go for the fourth with the other half, and you're really trying to establish vision while you're doing that and figure out where's the intelligent place to attack, I think you're just going to find so much success, right? Because you're going to go, ooh, his army's out in the open a little bit too much. Sweet. Let's set up a sandwich, get a nice flank from two sides. Let's go for it, right? Other times you'll go, no. That's like, he's too defensive there. His army's all together. Go for the natural, go for the fourth at the same time. And once he spreads out to deal with it, then maybe the next wave we can catch him out once he starts really defending all the run-bys properly and that sort of stuff. And I think that'd be super sick.
Got it. What is the follow-up? Like after my Hydroling Bane, because I feel kind of stuck once I'm like the Protoss is going up to carriers and things like that, and I feel like I'm on a very low tech composition with Hydroling Bane, and I cannot really get out of it.
You don't need to. So you're meant to win with Hydra Bane. Don't worry, Broodlords. So technically Broodlords. Okay. So
yeah,
technically Broodlords, but I don't want you to go Broodlords because honestly, the number of players I see where I'm like, dude, just go kill him. Just use your Hydra Bane better. Hydra Bane's such a skill. So that's kind of what I'm hitting home here. Is Hydra Bane is high damage, low hit points, right? It's like microing bio. It's like you either get your face ripped off and your army looks like utter shit and you go to whine on the balance thread, or you fucking destroy and you feel like you're Maru, or in this case, you feel like you're Serral, you know? It's a high damage composition. So you get how you micro and take engagements is everything. You're really a Terran player. You're pulling the Protoss apart. You know, you see Maru attacking in 2 or 3 places. You're doing the same thing here with Hydra Bane. So technically, Broodlords is the final transition. So you go do a Broodlord attack to overwhelm the ground. The thing is, Broodlords doesn't beat carriers, right?
Yeah.
So that's actually for beating the ground army when it gets too big. But if you've let them get carriers and you're on Hydra Bane, it's just one of those things where it's like, oh, we just need to get better at like attacking and stuff. And I look at this game, for instance, and I say, oh yeah, if we just keep hitting his mineral lines with more of these like Ling Bane run-bys and stuff, like, and splitting our army in two and just like attacking, like that would be awesome, you know? As much as I'm talking about like going for the army as the ultimate goal, I almost feel like if you just focus on killing his workers, the army kill will happen on its own, or he'll feel forced to go all in across the map. Like I almost feel like we're getting ahead of ourselves by trying to fight the army, because I'm looking at a Protoss who's running his army around in a blob the whole game. And I'm going, oh, wait, like if we're not playing a Protoss who's actually good enough to split his army after the first run by, or the second run by, or the third run by, I think you just need to keep killing his economy because this guy's like not defending properly, right? So we're like, oh, you got to get the army at some point. Like you got to make sure you do that. Because if you watch Showtime defending here, after your very first attack, he splits his army in 2 halves and he's like defending both sides and trying to take a fifth and shit. And in that case, it's like, okay, we'll stop attacking multiple areas, quickly collapse on one section of his army. That's like above the level we're playing at though, right? That's like something that's in the mythical future of your ZvP when you start playing really fucking insanely high level Protoss players. For now, I think there's a bit of a longer period where if we just focus on going for the economy, good things will happen for us as a Zerg player.
Okay.
Every game's different. Every opponent's different, right? So I'm kind of saying that like it's a rule. Obviously, it's flexible. You know that. We'll kind of see what happens in each game. But I do think that you looked like you were setting yourself up very well. And then like that one engage where we kind of went around the corner and just got a bit over eager, we lost momentum. And then we followed it up with another remax where we gave up all momentum, right? So that first attack I talked about was not good. It was very inefficient. But then you remaxed on Hydras after that in one blob over here. Mostly Hydras, one big blob. And this is the point where we gave up our chance of winning the game. This attack here. And it doesn't even matter what's on the right-hand side of the screen. I'm just looking at what you have and your army and the direction it's attacking from. And I go, ooh, there's no way this is going to get in there and do damage, right? It's just a big blob. So stick to the army. 2 armies, split in halves, come from multiple angles. Keep rinsing and repeating. And be confident. Don't doubt yourself. Hydra Bane or die trying. And you'll find you actually kick some fucking ass with it, man. It's got a lot of longevity. And remember, even if you force them all in, if you set up a big arc of Hydras across 2 or 3 screens coming in from multiple sides, you can defend some pretty nasty looking Protoss armies. So to give you a bit of perspective, if you talk to a Protoss player and part of their frustrations, if you talk to Showtime or anyone, Drogo, they'll say, yeah, I mean, Hydra Bane is actually not that hard to defend. Sometimes when they're feeling good against it, they're like, you know, it's fine. I know I can defend it. They're like, the problem is you can never kill a Hydra Bane player. They're like, the problem is like anytime you push on creep, you're just going to get fucked from 3 sides. Those Banelings are too fast. They always find the High Templar. My Storms don't do enough because the Hydras are too spread out. They're too fast. They're too, like, on the creep. They're just too in and out of the fight. They're coming in from this big surround. They're like, I just can't push on creep. I can't fight into the Protoss. So when we're damaging our opponent's economy down to 30 probes, even if they get a big army and push on creep, just remember we can still fight that as long as we set up a nice concave.
Okay. Last question, if it's okay.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Like Harstem says that Colossi suck. I strongly disagree. Most of my opponents build Colossi at the moment, and I get wrecked because they micro them, which I had never seen.
Are they going Stalker
before.
Colossus, or are they going Colossus just with other stuff?
Yeah, Stalker Colossus.
Cool. Go Ultra Viper.
Wings of Liberty.
Yeah. Go Ultra Viper if you get to Hive is the best way to do it. Before that, spread creep better is something we talked about a little bit. You just want to make sure you have a crazy number of Banelings and you come in with a big fat surround when they push you. So the important thing is to not attack into it and give them a good fight. You can do some run-bys and stuff.
I just let him take the map. Or not the map, but he's 4th and he's 5th. I just
not the 4th and the 5th. No, like you let them take maybe the 4th, but okay. So man, there's different types of Colossus. A lot of players do a 3-base timing with Colossus, where they even if they drop a 4th Nexus, it's like an all-in with Blinkstalker Colossus. They don't have any other tech. There's different styles you'll come up against though. Against that style, it's not even let them take the map because it's like no. Survive the all-in. That's essentially what Colossus players do, is an all-in attack most of the time. Now, you're going to find different brands on the ladder, but essentially what I focus on, if I see it, is I just go straight to Hive and try to get out a Great Aspire if I can, is one way I do it. The other way is just go Hive for Vipers and don't even worry about that and basically actually swap into Ultras if I can. So that's one thing you can do, Viper, really quickly into Ultra. And just be defensive with your Hydra Bane off a nice big economy. And if they push you, you can engage it. Obviously, you can scout to double check. If they're going fast 4th, etc., and they're building like Zealots and Archons and stuff with it, it's a little bit different. But if they're going Stalker, Sentry, Colossus, Stalkers, Sentries, and Colossus cannot beat Vipers, Ultras, Zerglings, Banelings. Like, these units all destroy that army. The moment you have Ultras and Vipers out, it is like their army is worthless supply. Like, it is not even worth anything. Because so you've got to keep in mind that they've got to hit a timing.
Since they are using their robos to build Colossi, they cannot build Immortals, and so our Ultras reign supreme.
Yeah, it's also just they don't have feedback or storm. So even if they have 6 Immortals, you blinding cloud them and they're stuck. They can't move because you've got a giant Ultraling Bane army that surrounds their whole force. They also don't have storm.
How do you see it? I just blinding cloud the whole army because it is packed, or I abduct
I would always abduct the Colossus first. I mean, if you happen to get a surround, sure, blinding cloud it. But otherwise, yeah, otherwise just abduct the big powerful units is always the easiest way to do it. Yeah, fast Vipers is one of the best things to do. And just a lot of the way I used to die against Colossus is I'd be like, ooh, I gotta go attack now. He's trying to take a fourth. And I just like throw my army into force fields and Colossus Stalker. And it's like, Stalker Sentry is really good at defending. Like, you're not gonna break Stalker Sentry because it's just the best defensive composition, right? It's just it doesn't do a lot of damage, and as long as you're not attacking off creep into force fields from one or two sides, and you're actually waiting to surround them on creep, you'll hold them with just mass banelings. Baneling is actually the main thing that kills a Stalker Colossus push. So just keep in mind, there's people who build a few Colossus and are still going like, I'm going double forge on 5 bases. That's very different to Sentry Stalker Colossus. So against that Colossus style, you can probably play almost your normal game plan of like, yeah, let's still deny the fourth, but I'm just getting Vipers a bit quicker behind it. But if you're seeing someone going Stalker Sentry Colossus, it's all about, let's make sure I survive that big push while getting that high tech up. Okay?
Okay, perfect.
Cool. That's a very, it forces you to play really differently. That's why it's a really good style on the ladder. It's just not consistent. That's why Harstem says it's shit. It's because he can't make it work consistently, right? Pro gamers want things that they can do over and over again. Parting makes Colossus look really good in some of his games. So don't get me wrong. I think they're still very powerful, but Parting does it with the timing attack, and that is the best way of doing it. He's just like insane.
And now
force
they will
fields.
become even more powerful because with the Baneling nerf, before what I did was
I don't think they're nerfing the Baneling, are they? Oh, they're giving it slightly less damage to Stalkers and armored units, right? Yeah, so it'll be like 1 more Baneling to kill Stalkers, 2 more to kill Colossus, I think, right?
Yeah, so with the Baneling nerf, I'm a bit scared. Before what I did, I waited for the Colossi to come on creep, and I just left-clicked the Banelings on the Colossi. But now I hope it will work out. I don't know if it will be the case.
I don't think it's actually that huge a change. Like, I think obviously it'll matter sometimes in those really close games. You'll be like, oh, I would have barely killed that stuff, and I didn't this time. I think it's a small enough change in that scenario that I wouldn't be too worried about it. Like, we'll see what happens when the patch kicks in, but I wouldn't worry about it ahead of time. It's a damage nerf, but yeah, we'll kind of see how it goes. Maybe you'll need to get just more Ravagers or Roaches, or maybe you'll need to just rush the hive and find a way to scout it earlier with a real quick Overseer. I'm not sure. There's a few different ideas. We'll see exactly what happens. I'd actually love to see that like Stalker Sentry Colossus come back as the main PvZ style, just to see an interesting, weird meta get worked out. It would be fucking fun to watch that very odd meta. Because like I said, it's such a sharp fall off point if you get Vipers and Ultras out. And Raynor was going Ultras in the games versus Parting. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, he did.
People used to always go Mass Stalker in Heart of the Swarm, and if you go back and watch like my old videos on it, all my old coaching videos are like just talking about like the tech switching nature of what you want to do, where you just like, cool, I got Roach Hydra to start or something, and they're like, well, I'm going Stalkers and Colossus and doing my thing, and then you're like Vipers, and you try to grab the Colossus, right? So they add Storm to counter the feedback to counter the Vipers. But then you get Ultras out, and you can still land Blinding Clouds as long as your Vipers come in from the correct angle, because your Lingbane Ultra comes in ahead of the Vipers a little bit, then you drop the Blinding Clouds, and like they're like, okay, I gotta make shitloads of Immortals. Yeah, okay. So they're like trying to make tons of Immortals, and then you would try to squeeze out around a Broodlords. So you'd swap in a Broodlords, and they're like on Immortal plus Storm and stuff. Like they're so trying to counter the Ultras. Then you'd hit a Broodlord timing, and then they'd be like, oh, okay, I'm swapping into air units, or they try to get Tempests out, and then they'd end up with this overly complicated army where you would basically just play Ultra Hydra Viper is where you'd end up. Because they'd just be like, I got my 5 Tempests to kill your Broodlords, and you're like, well, that just does nothing against Hydras and Vipers. And you'd try to keep the Immortal count low with the Ultras, and whenever there was a lot of Immortals, you'd try to go more Zerglings. You'd always try to make there's a good number of Banelings. Your Banelings would always try to clear the High Templar in every fight. That's something that just basically stays standard with all styles in ZvP. Just enough Banelings to fly through and get rid of the High Templar from the fight. And then you could squeeze Mutatech switches in as well. But the whole thing was, it was like, the whole battle was like, Protoss was trying to build the hard counter to your army, and then you'd basically make that army. You'd immediately attack with it before they got enough of the counter to it up, so you could take a good fight. And then while they're trying to build more of that counter for the remax, you always remax on a different composition. And you'd have this really cool flow in Heart of the Swarm of like shifting your composition. But at the same time, this was off the back of being very frustrated because their Nexus was a 15 range cannon that fucking would never die. And, you know, they got a third base for free every game. And you had no way of breaking force fields. And half the Protoss would just try to force field your main base ramp like a fucking douchebag. So some very cool aspects to it, but I tell you, dude, as a Zerg in Legacy, you've actually got units that are as good or better than the Protoss units, and you can actually fight them on even supply. Heart of the Swarm, man, dude, I'm sure you remember. I'm sure you were playing. You were playing back then, actually.
Horrible.
Yeah, you're like, I'm up 60 supply. I might have a chance. You know, you're like, it was fucking, or you'd just make swarm hosts, and you'd be like, well, I'm gonna beat you by being more of a, you know, sit on my ass player than you are. Don't get me wrong, there was some great aspects to it, but it's just interesting. So yeah, good sesh, man. I gotta get into another one. I've actually got another one booked right up to the back of it. Gonna do some Protoss coaching right after this.
Okay.
Very different league though, Platinum. So should be good. Good stuff, dude. So honestly, I think we've given you some good points. If anything's not clear in the notes, just let me know. Shoot me a message. Did you want to book in? I think we still had one left in this this initial package.
Yeah, we
that
still have one left in this round, but I would like my computer to get fixed first because there will be like completely different problems afterwards.
You're like, I can micro now. Oh.
Yeah, right now my computer freezes sometimes for 10 seconds, like 10 seconds during a game.
Oh, that's not fun, dude. Ooh.
Yeah, no, honestly, that's fun. That makes me laugh because it's kind of a crazy situation. You're trying to micro like 10 things at once, and then your computer freezes at like for 10 seconds completely, and you cannot do shit. So it's funny. It puts everything into perspective, but then you lose 400 MMR points. So yeah.
Shit. Awesome, man. Well, I got to run, but good luck. Have fun on the ladder, and I look forward to seeing you really getting on top of this matchup. Good luck, man.
I will. Thanks a lot. Goodbye.
Good night.